Relations between Egypt and the US was adjourned on Sunday and is set to resume at the end of April. The 43 defendants, including at least 16 Americans, are accused of receiving illegal funding from foreign governments. US officials who tried to settle the case before the trial opened say they still hold out hope for a swift resolution. Now, because of that case, Washington has threatened to cut off $1.5 billion in annual aid to Egypt. As it faces pressure from the West over its nuclear program, it seems Iran is looking to strengthen regional ties. On Sunday, President Mohammed Ahmadinejad met with Lebanon's visiting defense minister. He said the two countries should work towards unity to confront the West and Israel.
Iran is facing growing pressure over its nuclear program, so its government is turning to its friends. On Sunday, Iran's guest of honor was Lebanon's defense minister. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad vowed to unite their countries so they would confront the West and Israel together, while Iran's defense minister promised to, quote, strengthen the Lebanese army. The two countries haven't always been allies. Until 2005, when Syrian troops were still based in Lebanon, political analysts said it was Iran who controlled the Syrians. Iran was suspected of supporting Hezbollah, considered as a terror group by the U.S. But now Hezbollah is part of the Lebanese government, and relations between Iran and Lebanon are at their best. Strengthening these ties is essential to both Hezbollah and Iran, now that their common ally, Syria's Bashar al-Assad, is getting weaker and weaker.
At least 9 people have been killed in a car bombing in Afghanistan. Police said it targeted a NATO base at Jalalabad airport in the east of the country. The Taliban's claimed responsibility, saying the attack was revenge for the burning of Qurans at a US military base, which prompted days of deadly protests across the country. Now, Colombia's FARC rebels say they'll stop kidnappings for ransom. The group has also pledged to free several members of the security forces it holds hostage. No word on the civilians, though. The move comes a few months after the left-wing rebels killed 4 hostages they'd held for more than a decade.
It's a big day for Natalia Duarte. The FARC announced it would free so-called prisoners of war, 10 Colombian security force members, including Natalia's father. A few days ago, the 17-year-old walked 65 kilometers to plead with the left-wing rebels.
For the last 12 years, I haven't known how it feels to have a dad. 12 years without his kisses, his hugs, or his affection. I'm not asking for a favor. I'm demanding the FARC give back to me what they took away.
Hundreds of Colombian civilians are also being held in jungle camps. It's unclear whether they'll be freed as well. Last week, this improvised radio station aired 110 hours of messages from around the world from hostages' family members and friends. In a statement on its website, the FARC also said it would end its kidnapping policy, a decision applauded by the rights group Colombians for Peace.
Kidnappings cannot be used for political reasons. We hope and pray that all civilians will also be freed soon.
Throughout its 4-decade-long struggle against Bogota, the rebel group used ransom money from kidnappings to fund its combat operations. But despite no longer taking hostages, the FARC did not say it was abandoning hostilities. Bombing and mortar attacks on 2 police stations in the last month killed 15 people and wounded close to 100 others.
The secret services of Russia and Ukraine say they've arrested several people in connection with a plot to assassinate Vladimir Putin. According to Russian state television, the men were acting on the orders of a Chechen warlord. This ahead of Sunday's presidential elections. The Prime Minister is expected to win. Now, The Independent's Sean Walker in Moscow has more.
Russian state television this morning, Monday morning on the week of an election, led with the news that a raid in Odessa in the Crimea in Ukraine last month, in fact, caught several people, one of whom died when there was an accidental explosion which alerted security services to an apartment where people were preparing terrorist paraphernalia. Now, they say they've received testimony that the group was planning attacks inside Russia and indeed on Vladimir Putin himself. Of course, there is a long-standing insurgency, Chechen insurgency against Russian rule in the North Caucasus, but at the same time there will be a little bit of suspicion about the timing of this announcement. Back in 1999, when Putin was standing for president the first time, we saw a series of explosions of apartment blocks in Moscow, and I think a few people will wonder just about just before this election, where there's been some opposition to Putin, suddenly we have a terrorist plot appearing. But we'll have to wait and see what more information the Russian security services provide before we jump to any conclusions, of course.
After months of tension, Australia's Prime Minister has survived a leadership challenge by Kevin Rudd. Julia Gillard, who ousted Rudd in 2010, won by 71 votes to 31. Now she's got a cabinet reshuffle to concentrate on after Rudd's resignation as Foreign Minister last week. She's promised Australians the political drama is well and truly over.
So today I want to say to Australians one and all, this issue, the leadership question, is now determined. You, the Australian people, rightly expect a government to focus on you, for government to be at the centre of everything for you to be at the centre of everything that government does. I can assure you that this political drama is over and now you are back at centre stage where you should properly be, and you will be the focus of all of our efforts.
And proving laughter can be the best medicine in debt-ridden Greece. Tens of thousands of people took part in an economic crisis-themed carnival parade on Sunday. They sang and danced in Patras like they do every year, not letting the strain of tough times show, it seems. Now, a few dozen people did use the occasion, though, to protest, calling for resistance in the face of austerity measures. You're watching live from Paris, a reminder of our top